Are you struggling with managing your food choices and staying on track with your health goals during the holiday season? Have you tried different strategies for staying mindful during holiday gatherings but still feel overwhelmed by all the food noise? Do you want practical tips to enjoy the holidays while keeping your health and wellness in check? My name is Gamden, founder of Wellness Impact and the host of the Thriving with Diabetes podcast. We empower people with type 2 diabetes to achieve diabetes remission and prevent complications, helping them live healthier, happier, and longer lives. In this episode, Dr. Jessie Hehmeyer, a functional medicine physician, joins us. We explore managing food noise planning during the holidays and handling social pressure. We hope you find this discussion helpful for diabetes, overall health, and longevity. Enjoy the episode, subscribe, and follow us for more expert tips and strategies to thrive with diabetes. Dr. Jessie, welcome to the Thriving with Diabetes podcast. It is great to have you again for the second time.
Thank you so much, Gamden. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your community.
Brilliant. The holidays bring a lot of food noise, constant exposure to treats, meals, and social events centered around food. How can we stay mindful and avoid feeling overwhelmed by all the food noise during the holidays?
Well, I think the first thing to that reality, right, not feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you are making choices that are your best game, the first thing is to recognize this is really a unique time of year, right? This is, I think about the holiday season a bit like the Mount Everest of health, right? There's the environment of the holidays is challenging, right? We step into these social gatherings where there's a lot of food and a lot of opportunities to drink beverages that are not really a great match for our health. And yet they are part of the social experience, right? So we're not looking at saying, encouraging anyone to take on a Whole30 over the holidays or anything silly like that, right? But we want to kind of step back and get grounded in reality. And the reality is that you're going to encounter a lot of situations where these foods and beverages are abundant. And also, one of the things that I would count as part of the environment of the holidays are the conversations about the holidays and your health. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of conversations that you'll have with people, and it could go something like this. It's the holidays, just forget about it, right? It's that really, it's your family gathering, just forget about it. It's the, holiday party, forget about it. And you can hear these kind of conversations all around you, right? There aren't going to be many people who are going to invite you to pause and actually take a moment to look at how your health and your holidays, your commitment to your health and your commitment to experience a joyful holiday season, how could they coexist? How could it be that it seems like, it may seem like you have to choose one or the other. I get a joyful holiday season filled with, being with people, or I get to preserve my health. And I just want to invite you all from the get-go just to take on that it's not true, right? Like, it's actually not true that it's either one or the other. And, today through our conversation, my hope is that you start to see your way through to a holiday season that's really different than any other holiday season you've experienced, because it's not living in that world of overindulgence. And overindulgence is different than indulgence.
Brilliant. Very interesting. There are here two key points. Number one, recognize the challenges. And the second one, which is powerful, have a conversation about it with family or friends, but it has to lead to a point where you can be like in the middle, but if I get that right, but we don't want to fall into like a bad situation where we eat without being mindful. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is very well captured, right? And to say a little bit more about the overindulgence that's very common throughout the holidays, and how overindulgence is different than indulgence, right? So overindulgence occurs when we feel owned by the food, right? Or we feel owned by the social situation. It could be, there's a woman who I used to work with who she used to say, I don't know what happened. I blacked out and ate a pint of ice cream. And I thought that was, first of all, it just made me laugh. But second of all, I thought she captured really well the experience of overindulgence, right? She really felt like owned by the ice cream. She felt like once her spoon went into the ice cream, it was like autopilot. She felt like she blacked out, right? Of course she didn't. She was awake and eating the ice cream, right? But that experience of being owned by the food, that is at least part of what I would define as overindulgence. Another thing that I would define as overindulgence, beyond feeling owned by the food, beyond feeling like you actually feel like you don't have a say in how much you're consuming, is that you're not able to produce the outcomes you're committed to, right? So over time, if you add up indulgence enough, ultimately the sum of indulgence can equal overindulgence, right? If every day you're choosing something that is maybe a little bit more indulgent than optimal, the sum of those things will be overly indulgent and ultimately will keep you from producing the health outcomes that you care the most about. So, with that in mind, we can start to look at, okay, great, then what is indulgence? Well, indulgence, first of all, starts with your experience. And it starts with you feeling like you have a say. You are making the choice. You are saying, yes, I will eat that piece of pie, but I won't have 3 pieces of pie and 2 scoops of ice cream, right? I'm going to have the piece of pie. And you feel like you are in the moment enjoying the piece of pie. You feel like you have the say, and it doesn't really matter what people say to you. That's what you do, and you feel like you have a choice in the matter. And then the other part of indulgence is over time, you actually do progress in your health goals. You do start to produce new outcomes, whether it's around your hemoglobin A1C, your fasting glucose, your fasting insulin, the number on the scale. It's this intentionality and really the mindful choices you're making, as opposed to the inherited all or nothing overindulgence or deprivation, that really does have spiral up benefits over time.
Before you continue watching this episode, I want to take a moment to invite you to book a call. if you are looking for personalized support to manage diabetes effectively and take control of your health, visit wellnessimpact.org to book your call today. Now let's back to the episode. Brilliant. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that great insights. Many people want to enjoy holiday meals without sacrificing their health goals. And you mentioned something about that. Balancing this can be tricky for many people. It's not easy. The question is, how can we enjoy holiday foods without feeling guilty or compromising blood sugar control? I know you touched a little bit about it, but this is maybe we go deep.
Yeah. Well, I would invite each of you listening to come up with your own plan, right? Your own plan, and bring that plan to different gatherings, right? You might actually have different plans for different gatherings, but for example, an idea of a way you could play a better game this holiday season. And with that, Gamtin, I really, invite all of your listeners to hear in that. Please give up all hope of perfection. We are not looking for perfection. We are looking for a better game. And so an example of this may be that, okay, you promise yourself that when you go to that next holiday meal, you promise yourself you're going to get some beautiful vegetables on your plate. Maybe that's the only promise you make to yourself, and you keep that promise, right? Maybe that's the only thing you do. And I promise, if that would be something different and new for you to do this year, it's going to make a difference, right? So just that practice of, okay, I know that there aren't typically, nutrient-dense, non-starchy vegetables. So I'm going to bring some roasted Brussels sprouts, and I'm going to make sure I have some Brussels sprouts on my plate. Or you could say, I'm going to bring a salad, and I'm going to make sure I have some salad on my plate, like that, right? And then the other thing you want to start to think about is, what might you be a less to? Not a no, but a less. Okay, around sugar or around those rolls on the table, right? But creating some kind of boundary that you really get, like, I could get behind that. And everybody, all of you are in a different place. So I want you to move from your reality. So for example, if you know that the rolls on the table are your kryptonite, right? They're the thing that you have one and then you have six, right? Maybe you start by saying, I'm only going to have two. And then you get really strategic, right? You go, okay, I have my two. I'm now going to move that bread on the other side of the table. So you're going to want to get creative about how to execute your plan, because the temptation will be there in front of you. And then when it comes to something sweet, again, creating your own boundary. I'm going to have one piece of pie instead of three. I'm going to have, one scoop of ice cream with that pie instead of two, right? Whatever it is. But starting to give some shape for yourself to your plan before you step into the moment, and really being diligent about honoring it, right? It's going to take something. And in my experience, the cool thing about this is when you get into the practice of executing these better games, you're going to have some steam behind you. You're going to have some inertia in your favor, because you're going to wake up the next day feeling so proud of yourself. And you want to really ride on that pride and use that plan again, so that you wake up again feeling proud of yourself.
Brilliant. Very interesting. I think the key point here is we cannot avoid it completely, and it's not about being perfect, but it's a game that you play in your favor. And you mentioned like portion control, for example, how to reduce numbers. Instead of eating 5, you eat 2, just to feel that you ate something you enjoyed. but the control, or you need to have the control. I don't know how to say it, but you should be in control of the situation, where, and you might just ignore a few things. Is that correct if I summarize it like that?
Yes. And I would say, when I work with people, one of the things we work on is getting you geared up with other tools beyond control and discipline, because there are absolutely times where you're going to need to have control and discipline. But if that's the only tool you have, it's a very delicate tool. So control and discipline, those are delicate tools. We do need them. But if they're the only ones we have, they're going to break, right? And so, how do we shift that so that you have the experience of being inspired to make choices? That is a long-term journey, but it really is a journey you could embark upon. And, in this conversation, where I would invite you to think from, where I would invite you to contemplate for this holiday season ahead is, what would it be like for you to wake up just tomorrow proud of yourself? And what are you going to have to do today so that you wake up proud of yourself tomorrow? And if you just take that little nugget and use that as your dangling carrot, what's going to have me be proud of myself tomorrow? And what do I need to do today so that I'm proud of myself tomorrow? And you play that game over and over and over again, you will be amazed by the shifts you cause for yourself in the way you think about food and the way you relate to your body and your health, and ultimately to the outcomes, the measurable outcomes in your lab numbers, as well as on the scale that you're able to produce.
Brilliant. Very interesting. I'm not sure here if you are referring to mindset and confidence. Is it part of the game?
Definitely mindset is part of the game. And what I would say about confidence is earned. I kind of think about confidence as earned self-trust, right? And the thing about self-trust, or trust of anyone, is we earn it through repetition. So if you have a lot of evidence in the past of you eating mindlessly, of you overindulging versus indulging, you're not going to have a lot of trust in yourself right now. And that's actually appropriate because you haven't earned it yet.
Brilliant.
But it is earnable, but it's only earnable with time and consistency. And, in my experience, this trust game, earning our own trust, is really, it is one of the juiciest part of this health journey. Because when you come to trust yourself to care for your body and your health as sacred, it's like a technicolor experience. Things shift so rapidly. But, one lap is 1 year. So just even in 1 year, for those of you who have struggled with food in your body and weight and diabetes for years and decades, it's going to take some time to earn your trust, but I promise it is a worthwhile journey.
Brilliant. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that information. Great that you mentioned planning, and planning can make a big difference in this case. Can you share some more strategies or tips to prepare for holiday events, specifically when health options might be limited?
Yeah. So a few things. One is, and we've already touched on this a little bit, but really on the day of events, beginning your day, contemplating how you'd like the gathering to go, right? Actually spending some time envisioning the choices you're going to make and also how you're going to feel, right? This whole endeavor to me is really about you showing up as your best self for yourself and others. to me, when we feel our best and when we look our best, we can be our best. And so that's really what we're talking about here at a fundamental level. So first of all, starting your day, contemplating how you intend this gathering to go and envisioning the choices you're making. That's number one. Number two is working proactively. And by that, I mean, do not arrive at a big holiday gathering famished. Do not arrive super duper hungry, right? So for some of you, you may have a habit of not eating until the feast begins at 4 p.m. And typically that's going to set you up for overindulgence. It's just really difficult for people to make sane choices when they are hungry, right? So it could be as simple as, okay, I'm going to have 2 eggs and half of an avocado. Okay, great. That would be a fabulous way to stabilize your blood sugar and arrive with a good head on your shoulder to the gathering. The other thing that I would invite you to start thinking about is, how is alcohol going to go for you? Maybe for some of you, that's really the challenge. And there are a lot of different ways you could play a better game in alcohol. For some of you, it may just start with, I'm actually just going to count the number of drinks I have at these holiday gatherings. That might be a big place to start, and that would be great. For others, maybe you already have a pretty good idea. So it could be creating a new alcohol ceiling. So instead of 6 drinks, I'm going to have 4. Instead of 5 drinks, I'm going to have 3. So that's a different way you could give your alcohol consumption shape. Another way you could give your alcohol consumption shape is making some choices about lower sugar options, right? So as opposed to the fruity, juicy holiday drink that has, 35 grams of sugar in it, maybe you choose to have a glass of dry white wine or even a glass of dry red wine, just something that is not that high in sugar. So again, on the alcohol front, you may look at, okay, I just need to first get real with myself, for myself, about how much I'm drinking. Or you might start to make some promises to yourself about the total number of drinks you're having, or you might change what you're having so that the amount of sugar you're having is less, which of course is going to be better for anyone who's dealing with diabetes.
Before you continue watching this episode, I want to take a moment to invite you to book a call. If you are looking for personalized support to manage diabetes effectively and take control of your health, visit wellnessimpact.org to book your call today. Now let's back to the episode. Brilliant. Very interesting. I liked one of your ideas, but before we go to it, so first thing is you said envision the day, the event, the gathering. So have a plan. It doesn't have to be, a written plan, something in your mind. But when you said don't go hungry, this is like against what the majority do. Like I will not eat the breakfast, for example, because we have got a dinner time, a dinner event, so we can just eat the breakfast and the dinner together. But what you're mentioning here is the opposite. It's something not to be full, but it's something. So when you go there, because sometimes when you are hungry, you lose control. And if you lose control while eating, so anything in front of you, you will eat anything. But to have some control, you go with you eat something before you go. That is a very interesting point.
Yes. Yeah. And, we think when we start to think about, okay, what other strategies might you bring in? I'm going to share a few other ideas, but it's really designed to get all of you brainstorming, right? So none of these are the right solution, but I want you to kind of brainstorm for yourself what great solutions are, right? So it could be something else around, like there's a woman who I work with who really saw that she wanted to help out cleaning up, but she saw that when she was in charge of putting food away, inevitably she ate a lot more of the food in the process, right? So she took on a different job in the way of helping. So instead of putting the food away, she cleared the plates, and she came up with other ways she could help out. So kind of looking for yourself, okay, where do things go wrong for me, right? Really getting curious about that and starting to create some new strategies that might be useful for you.
Brilliant. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Great. We cover a lot of things, is the challenges, the strategies, the feelings that people might get. But this is now something related. I want to ask you about handling social pressure and feeling like awkward during meals. When earlier we mentioned that we need to have a conversation, either positive or negative, but we need to have that. So the question is, how can we handle social pressure to eat certain foods and still stick to our health goals without feeling uncomfortable? I know you talked about this a little bit, but if you just, because sometimes people will look at you like an awkward person.
Yes. Yeah. So one thing I would invite each of you to think of is an area of your life where you are stubbornly committed to something. And so for some of you, that might be how you are as a husband or wife or partner. Stubbornly committed, right? It doesn't matter what someone else says, you're going to show up for your partner. For some of you, it might be around your job, your profession. You are stubbornly committed. Nothing's going to get in the way of you doing the job the way it's intended to be done, right? For some of you, it might be around how you spend your money, right? It doesn't matter what someone says, oh, you should buy XYZ. You're not going to do it if it's not a good match for your financial commitments, right? So we all have our areas where we're more naturally stubbornly committed. And by that, I mean, we have a more natural ability to block out the noise of what other people might have to say about what we're doing or not doing, the noise of what other people are doing or not doing. Right? This might be kind of a silly example, but, I think for myself, like, I've never really, when I think about fancy things, shoes have never been my thing. Like, fancy shoes have never made me go, wow, right? So even if I went shopping with a girlfriend and she tried to encourage me to buy really fancy, expensive shoes, I'd say, thank you. It's not my thing. Even if everybody in the room is wearing them, I'm still not going to spend my money on that, right? And so it's kind of taking that kind of stance about your health, right? Getting very clear about what outcomes you're committed to and knowing that your ability to stay stubbornly committed to those outcomes and the actions that are required to produce those outcomes is something you can develop over time, right? And you cannot have them both. In other words, you cannot appease others and their wants and their desires of what you do or don't do around food and beverages and get the health outcomes. Just like around money, you can't, go out with your friend who loves to throw down their credit card for everything and follow their lead and expect to get the outcomes you're committed to around money, right? So we all, in our own areas of life, are going to be, some areas we're going to be naturally good at that and others, but I promise you can flex that muscle. You can develop it. And it might take something, but I think for most people, Gamden, is when they get really clear about their dangling carrot. I like to call it your vision of vitality for your health in your life. When you get very clear about your vision of vitality for your health in your life, it starts to act like this North Star. And with practice over time, it doesn't happen overnight. The noise of what other people have to say about what you're doing or not doing, the noise of what other people are doing or not doing, it begins to melt away, such that you arrive at a place where you would ultimately say, I care for my body the way I care for my body because I could do nothing else. It just wouldn't have integrity or honesty or self-honor if I did anything but this.
Brilliant. Very interesting. I ask this question. It's for the audience mainly, but part of it is for myself. This is why I find myself like struggling. So sometimes I look at what is available and look what has the lowest impact. Then I go for that, and I leave the others. Because you
That's
cannot
a great
just join
strategy.
them
I
and
love
look weird or, huh?
That's a great strategy. What has the lowest impact? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Very interesting. Let's say someone has control or influence on the social gathering or the event, either directly or indirectly. So he or she wants to create a healthier option. So the question is, what are healthier holiday traditions or options we can start that focus more on connection and wellness rather than just food?
Yeah, so things that are not food oriented that create that connection. Well, I mean, for some people it could be doing something physical together, right? I know, in the United States on Thanksgiving there are a lot of places where you can join in a turkey trot. So for example, right, which is, typically it's a 5K run walk, but you'll find that everywhere in the world. I think on most holidays, some kind of local gathering you could do together that has you out there moving your body. And it doesn't even need to be that big of a deal. It doesn't need to be a 5K. It could just be, hey, let's all go to the, local trail and go for a 20-minute walk together. It doesn't need to be very complicated. So moving your body together is always wonderful. Listening to music together is always a great way to be connected. Or maybe for some of you, you actually enjoy making music. So it's playing the piano and singing together, something that creates connection like that and, doesn't include food, or going to see a show together, anything in the art world. So kind of looking at what are the different ways we can tap into this connectedness and these joyful experiences, just like you said, Gamden, that don't include food.
Brilliant. Very interesting. So this episode is different than the other episodes, and it comes in the right time. We are approaching holidays now, so can be very helpful for our audience. I have got another question before we finish this episode. What inspiring message would you like to leave with our viewers and listeners to motivate and help them on their health journey?
So my encouragement is to really get this is to master, to really elevate your mastery of how you care for your body and your health. It takes something. So my encouragement is to be kind and compassionate with yourself, but also remain resilient, remain committed to producing the health outcomes that matter most to you. And, I think about this like crossing the monkey bars of change. If you fall off the monkey bars, if you wake up one morning and you look at the night before and you say, wow, I really wish I hadn't done that. See if you can learn from it and then get right back on the monkey bars. Go right back to making better choices and using those learnings to continue to evolve on your health journey.
Brilliant. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing your inspiring message. So compassion, kindness, and commitment.
Yes.
Is there anything that we didn't cover today?
I don't think so. I think we've given people a lot to think about. And my hope is that, all of you listeners, you really take this information and put it into action, right? Only new actions produce new outcomes. And, again, just remembering we're not looking at perfection. We're looking at what is a better game? What is a better game? What is a better game?
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that as well. Where can people reach you or learn more about your work?
Yes, you can reach me at Well Empowered. That's EMPOWERED.com. And if you'd like to connect one-on-one, please feel free to schedule a complimentary consultation. It would be a pleasure to connect with any one of you who feel like it would be useful. Also, if you'd like to get a little bit of inspiration for weekly micro habits, if you go to wellempowered.com/dare, you can register to receive a weekly Sunday email where you will be invited to take on one micro habit for the week ahead. And then on on Instagram, you can find me at wellempowered.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing your contact information. People can find your contact information and the links in the show notes, so they can just click it and go straight away to your website. From there, they can navigate where they want to go. Very interesting, and I highly recommend to join your newsletter, because if in a month, if I achieve 1 or 2 habits, that's considered to be very good. Imagine if I just take one within 12 months, so I will come or achieve 12 habits. Even if they are 5, it's good. Thank you for sharing that. That brings us to the end of this episode. A big thank you to Dr. Jessie for sharing helpful insights, and to our viewers and listeners for tuning in. If you need additional guidance, you can book a call at wellnessimpact.org. If you found value in today's discussion, join our thriving community and subscribe or follow us for more insights and strategies. Until next time, take care of your health and keep thriving.